Hello everybody, Joel Tadman here from Golf Monthly and welcome along to West Hill Golf Club, where today I am bringing you my review of the new Ping G410 Plus driver. It's really exciting. There's an awful lot to talk about. Where shall we start? I think the obvious place is the fact that this is the first time Ping has implemented movable weight on a driver. It's always been firm believers in high forgiveness, low back CG, so it's never going to implement movable weight if it was going to sacrifice that forgiveness from that low back CG. But as you can see, Ping have finally done it in a pretty clever way, to be honest with you. You can see there's this 16-gram tungsten weight here in the back of the head. It's right in the rear skirt of the driver. You couldn't get any more further back if you tried. And what you're able to do with this 16-gram tungsten weight is move it into these two slots, one in the toe, one in the heel, just these different screw ports. And that's going to change the shot shape of your drives by 10 yards either way. So very simple to literally undo the screw, slide that weight into the heel or toe, and you've got a different shot shape depending on your preference. There's also a change in the adjustability on the hosel here. Before, with the G400 driver range, there was plus or minus 0.6 or 1 degree, which was a bit strange. And the new model is still a little bit strange in that it goes plus or minus 1 or 1.5 degrees. So you do have a greater scope there in terms of adjustability. You know, that's good that Ping are making these changes to make the drivers a little bit more versatile. It comes in the Plus driver, so Ping wanted to really give the standard model a bit of a name, so the Plus is there after the G410. There is also the SFT model, which stands for Straight Flight Technology. It's given you more draw bias than the G410 Plus driver in its draw setting, so there's no overlap there in terms of performance. The SFT is even more draw bias than this in its draw position, so if you're a big slice of the golf ball, you probably want to be leaning towards the SFT compared to this. If you're a slight slicer of the golf ball, maybe struggle with a slight miss to the right, the adjustability here now gives you an option to slightly dial in that ball flight, give you a little bit more correction there to give you straighter, more accurate drives. We mentioned the two versions this driver comes in. There's actually no LST version at the moment with this driver. That is due, we believe, in May, June time of this year. That low spin version for very high speed players. That will be coming, we believe, but it's not been launched in conjunction with these. So it's worth considering if you are thinking about upgrading, but you do play an LST driver in the G400, you might want to think about holding back for that model, but we'll come on to the performance of this driver a bit later on in this video. Worth noting that the volume of this driver is 455cc, so 5cc short of the maximum volume allowed by the rules of golf, but bigger than the G400. The G400, I believe, was 445cc, so it was smaller than this driver, and Ping say this has a 1% higher MOI than the G400 Max driver, which I've got here, as you can see, and I tested these two drivers up against each other to find out what the differences in performance were. The reasons I tested the G400 Max, interestingly, the G400 Max, I believe, is staying in the range for 2019, whereas the other G400 models are coming out and being replaced by G410, which is a strange situation to be in, but I suppose Ping did launch the G400 Max driver a little bit later than the other models, so they're trying to give it some shelf life. And for us, certainly when I tested it, it was the best performing model out of all the G400 models that were out there. We did try and test the G410 Plus up against the G400. Unfortunately, the G400 model we had was in 10.5 degrees, and obviously with the adjustability only going down by 1 degree, and this being a 9-degree head, we couldn't get like for like loft. And because G400 Max is for us the best performing G400 model, we really wanted to put it through its paces and give it a proper test against the new model. So we've tested the G410 in 8 degrees of loft up against the G400 Max in 8 degrees of loft in the same shaft. This is the Ping Tour 65S shaft. So before we dive into the numbers we got with the G410 Plus driver, let's just talk about the look of the drivers, because that is an important part of the confidence you get over the ball for sure. And compared to the G400 Max, the Ping G410 Plus does have a much smaller footprint behind the ball. It's noticeably smaller. Compared to the G400, it's pretty similar actually in terms of size down behind the ball. Some other changes with G410 Plus, the turbulators are noticeably thicker or wider. The Dragonfly technology has kind of been replaced by this creased hood effect here at the back, which I definitely prefer. It looks a lot more streamlined, a bit more cutting edge. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of going off the look of the turbulators. I did kind of think they were okay at first, but with the trend of drivers now going towards much cleaner looking crowns, I don't know, I'd like them to be a bit more subtle, but you know, Ping say there is a performance benefit to having them there, so that's why they're on there. First, before we go into the numbers, talk about the feel and sound of it. Like I mentioned, tested it yesterday at Foresight GC Sports HQ using the GC Quad launch monitor, and on the range here today at West Hill Golf Club to really assess ball flight and the feel and sound of this club as well. The feel and sound is very, very similar. I couldn't really notice any difference between them. It's obviously different to carbon composite drivers, which have more of a thud to it. Kind of, this is definitely more of a clang, if you like, but it's, you know, it's still a really nice sound. I love the sound of the G400 Max driver, pretty powerful, feels very stable, very solid off a wide area. When you strike one in the middle, you really know about it with this driver, and this driver being a little bit more forgiving, you're going to experience those sensations perhaps a little bit more. So that's the feel and sound. Let's really dive into the numbers we got on the GC Quad to see if we did see a bump up in performance with this new model, the G410 Plus, over the G400 Max. Before I talk about the numbers, I do have to make one point, is that I used a new premium golf ball for this test. So while it was the same golf ball for both of these drivers in this like-for-like test, if you are comparing the numbers I got in this video compared to other videos that I published on 2019 drivers, I'm thinking the Cobra King F9, the TaylorMade M5, Callaway Epic Flash, those car drivers, I was using a different golf ball for those videos as I was in this video. So kind of worth pointing out to you that there will be some discrepancies. Obviously it's a different golf ball, but between G400 Max and the G410 Plus, I was using the same new premium golf ball, so this is a fair comparison test. Let's start with the G400 Max. Got an average ball speed here of 160, which is very good. You know, that's in the upper end of where I normally am with driver, launching at 15.3, very nice, very high. In fact, I like that high launch, given I need that because I've got normally low spin, although the spin with this driver was actually quite high as well, spinning at 2.3. Normally I'm around that 2,000 mark, that's normally where I like to see it, but with the ball flight with a peak height of 43, that's nice and high. It's perhaps the higher spin is contributing to that, maybe it's climbing a little bit. Average carry of 280 is very good. Very competitive, certainly towards the upper end, like I mentioned, of all the drivers I've tested this year. Average club speed with this driver was 109.3, and the strikes, you know, they're all basically towards the toe and slightly low on the face. The low on the face bit is perhaps contributing to the higher spin, but I would like to think they're all pretty solid hits. Moving on to the Ping G410 Plus driver, this is in the neutral shot shape setting. Club speed did go up by 1.2 miles an hour, to be fair, which is a fairly significant jump in club speed. The strike locations again were in the toe. They're certainly more tightly packed in terms of consistency, maybe a little bit closer to the sweet spot, but they are still generally in the toe. Remember, this is the Tour Stiff shaft, which is a little bit shorter than most stock shaft offerings out there on the market, so that could be contributing to the toe strikes. But if we look at the overall ball data with the new Ping G410 Plus, I've got a big jump in ball speed here. You know, there's no way about it. This is 2.4 miles an hour increase in ball speed. I've got an average of 162.3, which is quite frankly ridiculous. I'm topping out a 163.7, which is a number I've certainly never experienced before. And an average of 162 is very impressive, and it's very consistent as well. On the 8 counting shots I hit, I wasn't really deleting that many. The lowest result I got was 161 in terms of ball speed. That's very high. Interestingly, this club did launch the ball slightly higher, 15.6 degrees, and the spin certainly came down fairly significantly by around about 200 RPM to 2000, which is where I want my spin to be with that launch angle. Ball flight in terms of peak height was very similar, 43 yards. And we've got a big jump here in carry distance, you know, 11 yards. That is a big jump. I know a lot of you out there are cynical of golf club companies from generation to generation. All I can say to you is that it's a fair test. It's the same loft, it's the same shaft, it's the same golf ball. The G410 Plus absolutely smashes the G400 Max out the park. I did swing the G410 Plus over a mile an hour quicker, but is that down to me or is that down to the new design of the turbulators? Who knows? It's very difficult to assess that and make a call on it. But I've experienced generally a very big jump in performance here with the new Ping. It's a very, very impressive driver. It's very, very forgiving. You know, all these strikes aren't especially out of the middle, and the ball speed is fantastic. The shot shape bias, certainly in neutral, you know, I'm missing most shots out to the right, and there's certainly scope, of course, now for me to dial that in and move that 16-gram tungsten weight into the heel to get the ball coming back on those shots out to the right. Would I do that out of the course? I'm not so sure. Would I like some incremental changes on the weights when I move it around the back of the club head? Would I like to see extra positions? I think that might be beneficial for some people. I would perhaps like to move it slightly in the heel, not all the way, but I think it's nice to have the option. You know, big hookers and slicers can really dial in their ball flight, bring their dispersion in. While I wouldn't need to, some golfers would certainly see the benefit of that. Hopefully that's given you a steer as to the performance G410 Plus offers. The only way you're going to experience it for yourself is to give it a try. All I can do is present the numbers I got for you in my like-for-like test. Whether you experience that it might be a different story. Love to know. Comment on the video when you get to try it. Let me know if you do see as big a jump in performance as me. It comes in at £450, which is a fairly significant price increase for Ping. I believe the G400 Max was around about £380, so up at 450 is a big increase, but it's certainly around where golf drivers are these days. A lot of them are actually even higher than that. So I think there's some excellent value for money here with this Ping G410 Plus. It's a shame the LST version isn't available as part of the family when this comes on sale on the February the 7th, but I think you should kind of see it as a testament to the way Ping do their business, in that if they don't have a driver model that is significantly better than the previous generation, they won't bring it out to market. So you guys know when you're buying a new Ping driver, they have made significant improvements to the performance, and I would certainly agree in this case that they have done that with the G410 Plus. So give it a try, let me know what you think. But for now, from West Hill Golf Club, it's goodbye.